definitely you still have to get that visibility, but what you are going to be paying might be lesser because the cloud provider has already put all of these things in place for you. But of course, Sentinel and AWS also have their own solution that will ensure that you get that visibility into all of the infrastructure, moving to the cloud, ensuring that your infrastructure is running optimally. You don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure that is running your application and your database, all of these things. We still need to put the compliant bit of things into consideration, just when we move forward. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Right, this is a global standard for you for migration of your data to the cloud. And this does not just apply to just Nigeria alone. It doesn't apply to just Africa. It does not apply, it applies to the whole world at large. So before you migrate to the cloud, you want to assess your needs. Just like I mentioned earlier, you need to answer the questions of why am I doing what I want to do? What I'm doing, why am I doing it? Why am I moving to the cloud? So, your business need as a manufacturing company is different from the business need of a card issuance guy that is just trying to make business from card issuance, and you are selling something. So you need to assess what your needs are. That is the first action you need to do. So that is answering the question of why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the reason I'm doing what I'm doing? That's the first question that you need to answer. So assess your needs first. What do I need to do? What do I need to migrate? How am I going to migrate all of these things? So these are the questions that you need to answer. Then the next question. So like I said, you need to plan the cost. You need to know what the cost is. And like I said, you need to do that analysis for the next 2-3 years, because you don't want to move from a place where you are even going to spend more where you are going to. So you need to do that cost analysis to ensure that what is going to be costing you in the next 2 to 3 years is not even higher than what it would be costing you if you are migrating from, or if you are using your current infrastructure that you have, right? You need to do that cost analysis. The time is going to take for you to migrate. It depends on the level of urgency, right? You need to know how urgent is it for you to migrate your data. So it is not only cost, right, that makes people to migrate to the cloud. Just like I mentioned earlier, there are so many other factors. There are some applications that it is only in the cloud that they run better. You don't have all the functionalities within your infrastructure to run them, right? So when you take them to the cloud, you maximize all of the flexibility and capability that the cloud gives to you. So if that is also your own case, you need to plan you need to plan the application that you are moving to the cloud, and also explore what the so then you need to design the architecture. So going on to the next slide, or the architecture of the cloud that you are going to. So before I mentioned that what is the cloud provider that you are moving to, you need to also answer that question, because there are different kind of cloud model that you can move to. Like I mentioned the private cloud, the public cloud, the hybrid cloud, and one and say, okay, look, we can build a data center, or we can build a small space, small cubicle that all of us will be running together, but everybody's infrastructure will be sitting on it. So community cloud is there. You can plan with 4 different organizations to come together and run your infrastructure in a particular space. So the burden is not just on only you. You're also sharing that burden with other organizations, basically. So that's what we mean by community cloud. So the private cloud is somehow they are still running the infrastructure within your own space, but the excuse me, but the infrastructure that is running there is cloud, cloud enabled. Excuse me, let me take some water. It's cloud enabled, so that's why you have the likes of Red Hat comes up with the OpenShift, OpenStack, and things like that. So they give you that flexibility of for you to be able to run your infrastructure on-prem, but it gives you that experience of running a cloud. So that's why you have the likes of Red Hat, you have the like burden for you, right? They will take all the burden for you. The computer is running the infrastructure, they're taking care of it. The storage, they're taking care of it. The firewalling and everything, they're taking care of it. All you just need to public cloud providers, some way, somehow. They also try to provide the private cloud for you. So that's why you have the likes of virtual private cloud, where your infrastructure is running on a dedicated computer storage, right? But it's virtual, you can't see it. They are promising you that, but you can't see it. But if it is running within your own infrastructure, you can see it and you have that flexibility and all of that. So you need to you need to know which application, which architecture actually works for you. And some organizations say that I want to do hybrid. That means you need to plan ahead, because first thing you want to do is you want to ensure that you test the cloud provider that you are using. You want to test the platform properly before you say you want to migrate your business critical applications and databases, because you don't want to toy with what is bringing you money, right? So what you need to do first is migrate less impactful applications and databases to the cloud first. Play around with it and see what the experience is going to look like. And I see organizations going as far as even, if that's even the best practice, they clone what they have on-prem and try to the cloud. Play around with it in the cloud and see how, what the performance is going to look like, what the experience is going to look like, integration with other applications, what it's going to look like, before they now say, okay, this looks fine. Let's now plan to migrate. Because all of the cloud providers, they have the migration tools that will help you to migrate to the cloud. So if you plan properly with them, they will help you to do the migration, right? And of course, just like us as well, we also offer that service as well to help you to move to the to the cloud as well. So, and you also have some native tools, especially some backup tools that organization currently use, right? I don't want to mention the names. Of course, there are so many of them out there that can also help you to migrate your data. So if you say, no, I don't want to work with my cloud provider, I have experience, I have the in-house expertise to move your data to the cloud. So what it does is it kind of takes the backup of what's it called? It takes the backup of what you currently have on-prem and restore it to the cloud, right? So if it is a virtual machine, it takes a snapshot and it restores it to the cloud. So you can power on that virtual machine in the cloud and check what the experience is. So what I mentioned about cloning what you have on-prem to the cloud, what I mentioned about that, you can use those kind of applications to do it. So majority of backup and recovery tools today, they can help you to do that. So that makes the idea of moving your data to the cloud, it makes it easy for you to do. So that's also that's also one of the standards that you need to go through before you execute your migration. Then after successfully migrating your data, of course, cost is also another thing. You need to optimize continuously. And one of the experiences that I've had about migrating data to the cloud is never put the cloud credentials in the hands of people that don't understand the cloud, right? Or people that just want to do their own thing their own way. For example, now, like I said, application guys, the application guys can just create applications, web applications and things like that, and they don't look at the cost implication of that. They can just create the application, create database, they make use of it, they just play around with it, and because they want to test, they quickly create a database as a service on Azure or AWS, continue to do their thing, and after they test, they don't shut it down. They just leave it like that. Application or a cloud application application is currently somebody has powered on and they forgot to power it down, your cost is going to be running. So you need to put nice whatever it is that anybody wants to do on the cloud. You don't complete maybe personally organization has let me just create something sharp and make use of it and then do what they are going to do, and eventually they forget to power it down. It's going to be the cost is going to come under the company's the cost is going to come under the company's tenant on the cloud. You are still going to be the ones to pay for it at the end of the day. But yes, definitely, there's going to be penalty. You are going to penalize the person that did that and all of that. But of course, you are still going to pay the money. So you need to ensure that you optimize continuously, put the credentials in the hands of people that can scrutinize whatever it is anybody wants to do. You don't want to give everybody access, just like I mentioned, to the cloud environment and make them admins. You want to minimize the privileges that people can have. If somebody is an application guy, just give them privilege to the only application that they need to have access to. If somebody is a database person, give them access to the only database that they need access to, so that you minimize your cost efficiently. Because even planning 2 years and 3 years ahead, you are planning based on something. You are planning based on the number of applications that you want to have, the size, the resources that you want to give to that application, the database that you want to have, the resources you want to give to that database, the virtual machine that you want to have, the resources you want to give to that virtual machine. That's what you are planning based on. And of course, you are going to have like a headroom that, for example, if the data grows by so percent, can I still be able to accommodate it and all of that? So you need that headroom as well. So you have planned all of that, and somebody is coming to do something outside of what you have planned. That's going to increase the money that you're going to spend in the long run. So you need to ensure that you put people that understand the cloud in charge of the cloud. So that's that about that. Then going on to the next slide. These are some of the key challenges that majority of organizations face, and organizations that we have interacted with that have said I want to migrate to the cloud, the ones that have migrated to the cloud, these are some of the issues that they face. Yeah, of course, connectivity issues in Nigeria. Of course, we all understand how it is in Nigeria, right? So we have our telecommunication companies, but sometimes downtime can be imminent, right? And you want to connect to your cloud to be able to do your day-to-day activity, right? If you have excuse me, if you have the cloud, right, and you have most of your employees working from home and they need to connect to the services that you have in the cloud, of course, they need the internet to be able to do that. And if there's a downtime on the internet bit of things, yes, your infrastructure is running in the cloud, but you need to make some changes to it. But you cannot access your you cannot excuse me let me you cannot access your infrastructure because an MTN or an Airtel is down. So that's one of the challenges that organizations tend to face in terms of moving to the cloud, right? But of course, if it is running on-prem, even if there's no access to the internet, if you are connected to it, then of course you can still access your infrastructure. Regulatory and compliance requirements. I think I mentioned that I am going to speak to the regulatory compliance bits once we move forward. So this is where we talk about it. Even after planning, excuse me, even after planning your migration to the cloud, first of all, you need to understand the regulations that you need to comply with. The regulations that applies to your own sector or to your own business, because there are laws about data residency, data sovereignty, and data localization that is becoming imminent now. And across Africa, this is something that is becoming really paramount. People or organizations or countries are taking it very seriously. That's why you have the NIT, the NDPR in Nigeria, and some other bodies, that are interested in you ensuring that you localize the data. You also put into consideration of the the what's it called again? Excuse me. The location, the geographical location of where the data is residing, and also the rules and policies that applies to the geographical location of your data. If as an organization you need the data that you need to move to the cloud is personal data, and your cloud provider is probably sitting in somewhere in New York or somewhere else that is not within the country. Of course, you need to get some level of permission to be able to, you know, move that data to that particular region. Okay, so for you, you need to plan and you need to know the regulations that you need to comply with your homework as well, so that at the end of the day, you end up being sanctioned even after moving your data to the cloud. Most of the data that localization speaks to is majorly personal data, people's house addresses, date of birth, and things like that. So if you process those kind of data, you need regulations that you need to comply with. So that's that. And again, skills on let them have access to the virtual machine and continue to do whatever it is that they need to do. But of course, you want to ensure that you have people that can scrutinize, whatever it is anybody is doing in the cloud. Just like the normal traditional infrastructure, the infrastructure guy goes, I don't have 5 terabytes. What do you want to do with 5 terabytes? Tell me what you want to do with 5 terabytes. Maybe what you even need is 1 terabyte or even 2 terabytes. And you're telling me you have terabyte. I don't have that to give you. I'm giving you 1 TB. If you run out of that 1 TB, I'll add 500 for you. Then after that, I'll add another 500 for you, and all of those kind of things. So you need that skill to be able to minimize the costs that comes with the cloud. If you don't have that, you just see that at the end of the day, where you are moving from is even better than where you tend to be moving to. That is, so you need to do that homework. You need to ensure that you have the skilled guys that would ensure that they scrutinize whatever it is anybody that is going to do that can help you plan ahead and ensure that you minimize, the money that you're going to be spending. Okay, then cost considerations, right? Like I said, we've spoken about this earlier. You need to consider what you are going to be spending. Initial cost of migration, yes, you need to know that. You need to know what your forecasts are to ensure that you plan ahead, so you don't just run in organizations, even large enterprises, right? I was privileged to speak with, excuse me, one of the big bank CIO recently. I think that was last week Friday, and I see them moving their you know infrastructure from Azure back on prem. Reason is cost. They are spending so much money on cost, and the management is mounting pressure and saying, why are we spending so much on the cloud when we can run this same exact thing, when we can run them on prem? You guys will need to to ensure that you bring some of these costs down, because you need to move them back on prem and see what the experience is going to look like. So definitely they plan ahead, of course, but of course their data grew over time. So if their data grew over time, right, to manage that data and the cost that comes with that data growth can be really, really high. So if you don't plan properly, you might end up coming back to the on-prem infrastructure. So you need to plan ahead to be able to ensure that you continue to run in the cloud even after moving to the cloud, so you don't run back and run back to where you're coming from. Okay. Then data security concerns. Protecting financial or any other data is a key thing for experienced guys to help you to migrate your data, and also use the right tools to migrate your data. And that's why you have to migrate your data. And that's why you have to be exposed to uh, to the public eye or the threat actors. So encryption is going to happen while you are moving your data. Yes, your data is at rest on production, which is in the your on-prem infrastructure. But while you are moving it, when it is in transit, you also have to ensure that it's also encrypted, so that you don't have people spoofing your data and also trying to see what is within the data while you are migrating. So these are some of the challenges, and we have spoken to how we are able to fix those challenges. All right. So we are going to spend less time on this side because, of course, for you to overcome those challenges, I think I've spoken about them in the previous slide. So maybe you can adopt hybrid cloud adoption first, where you have your cloud on-prem first, and you have some workload on the public cloud side, so that you run them side by side and experience and see what the experience is looking like before you now say you migrate completely to the cloud, or you can continue to run hybrid. Some, especially for people that need to comply with some regulations. Just like I mentioned, if you are processing data, you are compliant with PCI DSS. Of course, you have to comply with data residency and data localization and sovereignty as well. So you need to maybe you run the data that doesn't have to be in another person's infrastructure in another country. You run them on-prem, then or you run them on your own private cloud. Then any other data that doesn't have anything concerning compliance, you can run them in the cloud. So you can adopt that as well. Then you can leverage local data center. Of course, there are so many local data centers that we have here, and they provide that experience. So they have the infrastructure. You just come, run your application on their own infrastructure, and you just have that cloud-like experience while your data is going to be resident in Nigeria, and you have that flexibility of cloud as well. Then, of course, you have to partner with cloud partners that will ensure that your experience for moving to the cloud is seamless. You don't want a situation whereby, just like I mentioned, you are not migrating properly. Your data is not confidential. The integrity of data is at risk. Availability of your data that's the CIO triad. So you need to ensure that all of these things are put in place. So you need to partner with proper cloud partners to ensure that you migrate your data as you should. Enhance the information security or security practices. Of course, you need to ensure this, like I said, multi-layer security. You need to ensure encryption is in place. Whatever kind of encryption that you want to use, whether symmetric or asymmetric, whether AES or Bluefish, whatever it is that you want to use, you just need to ensure that your data is encrypted while it's being migrated, while it's in transit for migration, because you don't want threat actors to see what is in the confines of your data. Okay, so what are the best practices? So I'm trying to just ensure that we meet up with time, because I'm seeing that we just have 7 minutes left. So you need to ensure that your migration is phased. I've spoken to most of these things before, but I just need to briefly run through them again. So you need to phase your migration. Like I said, you don't want to start your migration by migrating your core or business critical systems. That's not what you want to do. So you want to migrate some less critical workload to minimize the risk. Then after migrating it, you see what the experience is on the cloud. You do some integration to maybe third-party applications, and you see that the experience is smooth. Then you can you can now say, okay, yes, I'm ready to move now because I've tested the cloud and I see that it works for me. Then backup and recovery of the cloud. So keep off of your data. So even if you are moving to the cloud, on-prem first, you need to also have the backup of your data, because if everything goes wrong, right, you want to ensure that you have something to fall back on, because you don't want to leave everything to chance. You want to ensure that you have a backup of your data, even on-prem. So even if you are migrating to the cloud and the experience is not as expected, you can always revert and say, okay, I have a backup. Let me just restore to my on-prem back, and let my customer continue to experience what they were experiencing before, while I fix the cloud and have the clone of my application in the cloud, right? You wouldn't have to go through this phase if you plan accordingly, but just in case, you just need to have that backup. You need to have something to fall back to if everything goes wrong. So like I said, compliance and governance. So you need to know the regulations that applies to your own what's it called, sector of play. So that's why I said you need to data localization and residency. If it applies to you, of course, you need to ensure that you speak with experts in that sector that will ensure that you are doing everything right, so that you don't get sanctioned at the end of the day. So cloud native tools, of course, like I mentioned, you can leverage AI to get the analytics of how much I'm spending, what are now tilting towards Nigeria, right? Not just Nigeria, even Africa. So I see data centers in Kenya, OEMs coming of compliance and regulations. We will need to take it off you. Don't worry. We are going to build a data center in Nigeria that is going to be housing your infrastructure in Nigeria. Then you also start cloud experience in Nigeria. And your data is going to still be sitting in Nigeria. So you don't have to worry so much about the regulations and the compliances. Your data residency, yes, in Nigeria. Rules and regulations, the sovereignty, rules and regulations, and the protocols that applies to the geographical location of where your data is hosted is Nigeria. Your data localization, you don't have to move data across border and all of that. Your localization, the rules that applies to you is in Nigeria. So all of these things are things that is making it interesting to move to the cloud, even as an SME, because like I said, OEMs are spending money on investing in Nigeria, so that all of these compliances and regulations you are beating it down and having everything seated in Nigeria. So which is a good thing. So of course, if you want to move to the cloud as an SME, so you also need to consider all these things, right? You have to consider the organizations that are considering Nigeria as a business, or as a country rather, and also other African countries, like I said, Kenya, South Africa, even Chad. Chad is also one of those countries, that's adopting cloud migration. So any SMEs within those countries are going to enjoy the cloud in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So what are the challenges that comes with migrating to the cloud? Like I said, planning and execution is a part of it. Something that you need to worry about. Benefit of cloud adoption. We've spoken about scalability, flexibility, and cost effectiveness. But if you don't plan, all of this will not apply. Collaboration with providers, yes, providers that will help you to migrate to the cloud seamlessly, just like we, and also collaboration with the OEMs that provide, the cloud services. Then adopting technological advancement. Of course, we mentioned the likes of AI to get visibility into what you are spending and what is consuming your money. So that's also what it is as well. I think we are kind of right on time. So this is like 1 minute before the end of the session. So I think we've come to the end of the session now, and I believe that we've been able to pick one or two from this presentation. So I think I'll come to the end of the presentation, and I hope that we're in our cloud journey. Thank you so much to everybody that's been a part of this session. So if there are any questions, I'll take it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mubarak, for learning a handful from what he said. I really thank you for your time. Thank you for taking out time from a busy schedule to talk to us about the cloud and the users. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'd like to do a brief introduction of TCinnovate. So at TCinnovate, we tend to empowering businesses with cutting-edge technological solutions that drive efficient need. You're interested in any of our services, you could actually reach out to us on sales at tciinnovate.net. TCinnovate is spelled V8. Yes, tciinnovate.net. Or you could reach me directly or at queen@tciinnovate.restaurant. So that's that. And for the question and the answer section, I'll go first to the questions. I have a couple of questions for you, Mubarak, because your was really insightful. So I have some questions for you. My first question is, so how can SMEs in Nigeria with limited IT budget prepare for cloud migration? That's my first question. I don't know if you answer then the next question. Which would you prefer?
Okay, I think I would like to take them as you go. So yeah, I'll pick the first one you asked. So the question is, how will organizations or SMEs in Africa or Nigeria be able to migrate to the cloud with limited budgets?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
So, yeah. Okay. Great. So to answer this question, so limited budgets. It's important. Yeah, I know a lot of SMEs don't have a lot of money to throw around, like I said, but you need to know the cloud provider that works for you. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to go with Azure or AWS or a GCP. There are so many cloud providers out there that their money is not really expensive. Like I mentioned Wasabi Cloud, you know, and I also, Huawei Cloud is also there. So again, you need to know the cloud provider that works for you and what their rates is. Then you need to also know, what do you want to move to the cloud? Do you want to start small and scale later? You don't need to put all your workloads in the cloud. You can put the cloud native applications and the databases that are running your business on the cloud. And if the budget is the budget is like almost the same to you,
It makes a lot of sense. No, people look at names so much. They want to go for the big names.
the OPAs, the sorry, the call was coming in. So the OPAs, the BAMPAs, all those guys, most of them are running to the cloud, and that's why you see that majority of them are becoming unicorns now, because they have that flexibility of the cloud. They are able to scale. They are able to make use of containerization. They don't have to worry so much about using VMs to do what they need to use their infrastructure. So majority of them are already leveraging that. So, but of course, as an organization that is just coming up, right, or a fintech or an SME that is just coming up, you need to, in order to be able to innovate, like I said, cloud is one of the ways to do that. Cloud is one of the ways to innovate because it gives you that flexibility and scalability. So, if you need to do anything, or maybe application or the services that you provide, you don't have to worry so much about, does my infrastructure, does it support it or not? The cloud will give you that leverage for you to do whatever it is that you need to do. So you have, the likes of MoneyPoint with Modify, you have OP with this kind of different services that they are offering now. Before, KYC used to be a problem for OP and BAMPI. Now they have the best KYC in the world. So they are leveraging the cloud for them to be able to innovate and make more money for their business. So just to simply answer your question, yes, organizations are already leveraging the cloud to innovate. But for any organization that wants to innovate, or that is just coming up within the mobile money or any fintech, right? They can leverage any cloud. They can leverage any cloud to be able to do whatever it is that they need to do. So the cloud is there to provide all the services that they need. So they don't have to worry about the company.
Mubarak is here to answer you. I don't think I have any question. Let's just give them a little bit more time if they are thinking of their questions. Any more questions, please? Ask your questions. I mean, this topic was really, really understood. It dissected the topics. In the absence of questions, I really want to thank Mubarak for your time. I also want to thank our guests for taking out time from your busy schedules to attend this webinar. I really thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Like I said, if you have any questions, if you have further questions, or you have further inquiries, you can reach out to us at sales@tcinnovate.net, or you could also reach out to us. You could reach out to me directly.
In fact, just some
Yeah, hello, can anybody hear me?
Well,
Sorry, I got disconnected at some point. Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you, Mubarak.
Yeah,
You're in now.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Oh, okay. Can hear you, Mubarak. Can you hear me? I think maybe it's from your end. You actually kind of highlighted and spoke around some issues that was having around in my head. When you talk about the cost, for businesses actually looking at going to the cloud, and for some of them it's always the USD dollar fluctuation, and so most of them, at times get scared of going to the cloud. And in fact, some of them also kind of also look at the security of their.
And do have a great day. And do have a great day today. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
everyone. Thanks.